Awesome. Hello. Hi. Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Ash, and I have a bit of a monologue to start with. Today, we're diving into a conversation that many of us in the naturopathic community have been having behind closed doors, the real challenges and triumphs of building a sustainable career in naturopathy. Let's talk about the big fat elephant in the room. When we enter this profession, God, the words aren't coming out today. We invest not just our hearts and our minds, but a significant financial commitment. In Australia, the average uni student typically invests between $18,000 to $50,000 in their education. Us naturopaths invest, as you know, somewhere around $80,000 in our 4-year degree. That's a substantial investment in our future, and one that many of us make with hopes of transforming lives through natural medicine. But here's the reality that recent research has unveiled. Nearly 74% of practitioners see just 0 to 5 new clients per week. Think about that for a moment. After 4 years of intensive study, hundreds of clinical hours at uni, and tens of thousands of dollars invested, many of our colleagues struggle to build a thriving practice. The landscape of naturopathy in Australia is complex. While about 6.2% of Australians have consulted with a naturopath in the past year, and notably 75% of these clients have chronic illnesses, our profession faces unique challenges. Nearly 60% of us work in solo private practice, that's me, often navigating the complexities of both clinical care and business management single-handedly. And with the recent impact of the pandemic affecting over 75% of practitioners' businesses, many have had to reassess their role in clinical practice. Recent graduates particularly feel this tension, passionate about naturopathy yet challenged by finding their place in the broader health system. We are trained health professionals seeking to make a difference, yet many of us find ourselves questioning how to transform our expertise into a sustainable career. But here's why today's episode is so important. Amid these challenges, there are practitioners who have found their way. They've built successful practices, whether working solo or creating integrated clinics with other practitioners. They've overcome the hurdles and found their niche in this evolving landscape. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Anna, who has built a thriving multimodality clinic where naturopaths work alongside other health practitioners, such as acupuncturists. We'll be exploring Anna's journey, the challenges she's faced, and most importantly, the strategies that have helped her succeed. So whether you're a current student, recent graduate, or established practitioner, this conversation is for you. We're pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to build a sustainable practice in today's healthcare environment. So welcome, Anna.
Thanks, Ash.
Oh my God, that was a lot to say.
Need a glass of water.
I know, I'm like sweating. I only just got the aircon on, it's hot. Okay, so I want to start by talking about your personal journey and background.
Yeah.
Before you even chose to study naturopathy,
Yes.
what drew you to it?
So growing up, I'd never heard of a naturopath, didn't know.
Same.
Didn't know that was the thing that existed. I have a bit of a background in quite competitive sport. So I was swimming a lot during high school and into my first couple of years of uni where I was studying architecture. So I was training like 11 pool sessions plus gym plus. So I was swimming about training all up about 40 hours a week.
Wow.
Yeah, and so as a lot of naturopaths, I guess, would know, that's going to really impact a lot of systems.
Yeah.
So
it's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, and alongside that was things like, obviously when you're training so hard and there's a goal like a competition coming up, you're going to do anything in your power to resist illness, such as preventative antibiotics and like all kinds of things would get recommended to, oh God, don't be sick for the competition. And
yeah.
And so over this time, I guess I lost my menstrual cycle for 5 years.
Wow.
I had really, really bad acne, like really, really bad acne. And looking back on photos of myself, I had like the classic hypothyroid picture where like real thinning outer eyebrows, like really thin hair, lots of fatigue. my digestive system was shocking. I was just in like a really bad space, I guess, physical health wise, but then you're kind of trying to perform at this level, and kept going to the doctor every year, like just not feeling right. And they do all my bloods and everything's fine.
Really?
And then just, I guess, probably consistently prescribe like the pill, the Implanon, anything to give me a menstrual cycle or whatever. And I just always felt like not quite right. There was something wasn't right. And I think I was at a friend's house and their mum was seeing a naturopath or something came up, and I was sort of having a chat like, what's that?
Were you like, how do I say that?
Yeah, I was like,
do what?
Yeah, I remember I said to someone later on, I was like, I think I'm going to study what did I can't even remember how. Naturopathy. And they're like, oh, naturopathy. And I was like, oh, how embarrassing. I've said it wrong. And so she was like, oh, well, they do this and that. And I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll give it a try. I went to go see a naturopath, and we went over everything and did some blood testing and things. And within 12 months, I had a regular 28-day menstrual cycle.
Brilliant.
I'd been prescribed things like Roaccutane and doxycycline for years for my skin, and then every time I'd come off them, it would just get worse. My digestive system was ruined. So we worked together for a long time. 12 months. I got menstrual cycle back, my gut issues resolved, and my skin obviously like got back to.
Yeah, I mean, you
happy,
have immaculate skin now.
Yeah. So, and then I think after that, I was like, wow, this is really, really cool. And I wish I had this information so much sooner.
Yeah. See, like, don't worry about that architecture degree.
Yeah, like that's not for me. This is way more interesting.
Mum.
Yeah, sorry, Mum and Dad.
Fabulous. And so can you walk us through your journey of deciding to study naturopathy to becoming qualified, like where you chose to study, like when you made that decision?
Yeah, so at the time when I was seeing a naturopath, I was studying architecture. Prior to studying architecture, I was actually enrolled in medicine. So I'd always kind of had that science, like that I really loved it, and human body, like really loved it. I think I went to my first week of lectures at UWA, and I was
medicine to become like a doctor.
Yeah, well, it was thinking like pharmacy or chemist. I don't know. I really liked that kind of stuff, and I just felt like not right in the building. I didn't really feel like it was like my space to be in. I didn't feel super comfortable.
Yeah.
So I decided I'll do what I like. I love drawing and stuff like that. So I went and studied architecture. Absolutely loved it. But then had my own health stuff at the time. So I was seeing a naturopath while studying. Then I went and did my work experience, and it was just very clear to me that I was way more concerned with the health of the people in the office than the project.
Like, have you tried probiotics?
Yeah, it's probably not normal that you feel that unwell every day after you eat your lunch. I'm a bit concerned. And I just noticed, I think as well, like when you're in a space of people that are so passionate about their job, in every bit of free time they have, they were just hyper-focused on that. Like everyone on their lunch break was reading architecture magazines and looking at buildings and getting, like I was working in an office in Tokyo, and they would get on the train to like go see a project and do this and do that. And I was like, oh, I can't wait for my lunch break so I can read that book in my bag about nutrition or about herbs or about... Right. And I was like, I'm definitely not in the right spot.
Yeah. And you would have still been like early 20s?
Yeah, I would have been 22.
Oh, so you got so much time then. You can still flip-flop a lot.
Yeah, I felt like I was still young enough to be like, oh, I can change my mind.
Yeah.
And at the time I was working for a lady, like just to support me while I was studying. I was teaching her kids to swim. And she was a naturopath and had a clinic in Perth. And I came back from this work experience trip overseas, and I sat down with her and I was like, oh, like I just think that I have made a big mistake, and I think I'm doing the wrong thing, and I really want to talk to you about what your thoughts would be if I was to switch and go more down the career path that you've chosen. I'd really like to hear what you have to say about it. And she was like, oh my God, come over right now. We're going to have a cup of tea. We're going to talk about this. And she was like, I'm so happy. Do it, swap.
Nice. So you had like a bit of a mentor.
Yeah. So she was so I think just her like reaction to when I said that that's what I wanted to do, she was like, oh, thank God. Like,
you're perfect for this.
I think her husband was in the building industry, and I think she was like, that's wrong for you. You should do this. So, yeah, I think probably like the next day, because that would have been on the weekend, I went to Endeavour because I just Googled. I asked her, I was like, I've done some research and I found a couple of places where I can study. And she's like, no, I studied here. This place is great. I know these lecturers.
Yeah.
That's a good spot. I think the next day I like got on the train, went to the city, spoke to Endeavour.
Just rocked up.
And just
let me in, please.
Enrolled for
wow.
as soon as I could start.
So that was a real quick
it
decision.
Was literally like overnight. But amazing. I think I'd obviously had that kind of interest for a really long time, and even straight from school, I guess what I thought maybe I would do.
But to jump into that commitment, you've just done how many years of architecture?
I had so I'd done my 3-year undergrad and I'd started my postgrad, and I'd done, so work experience you normally do at the end, but I did it in the beginning, and I think it must have been because I knew. Yeah. There must have been a part of me that was like,
lucky you did, hey?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was the only kind of hesitation, I think, that I was probably at that point where, because I just finished my undergrad, so many of my friends were like getting into full-time jobs, and you're a struggling student for so long and you're like, oh, that full-time wage sounds so appealing, and like holiday pay. And I was like, no, you're young enough to do something else, and you're currently making those sacrifices anyway. So I was like, I feel I'd be more uncomfortable if I went and got that full-time job and
had you do that for 10 years.
And then I was like, oh, now I have to go back to being a student and not having like a proper income. And I was like, I'll just do it now.
Yeah, a bit of a leap of faith.
Yeah, so I think I just made a really quick decision, which is not very like me. So
yeah, you do seem to have a pattern of being like very committed.
Yeah.
Like not afraid of a long-term commitment.
No.
Which is, probably perfect for this job anyway. How many years did you take to do the degree? Because it's a 4-year full-time.
Yeah, so did
you do full-time?
Yeah, I did it full-time.
Oof.
I was actually going to do it a little bit shorter because I did like all my summer units and everything. I think I was just on a mission. I was like, I've got a race to get it done. But then with COVID, there ended up being a couple of delays because I got stuck overseas when I went to visit my family. So I think I was going to finish it in like 3.5 or 4, but I ended up taking an extra like 6 months. So my last 6 months I was just in clinic. I'd finished all my units, which was really nice.
That's how I did it as well.
Yeah.
So at the end of the degree, we do clinic, and sometimes that's alongside subjects. But I'd finished all my subjects, so I could just focus on being present in clinic, and that was the best.
Oh, I think it makes a world of difference. Like you actually get to enjoy it because you're not worried about assignments and.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite subject or subjects?
Ooh.
Put you on the spot.
I think in the beginning, like when I first started, I loved the herbal units because it was just so interesting. Because I think it's just something I'd never been exposed to, like the biology and chemistry and stuff, and all the nutrition, even like from maybe even growing up, like swimming and things. You're regularly nutrition is a conversation that's around all the time, to make sure you eat enough of this and do enough of that. So that was sort of something that was a bit more familiar, but I think I love the herbal stuff because it's like, wow, it's so interesting.
So different. And you don't learn it anywhere.
No.
It's almost like tucked away and hidden, and you got to be interested and go find it to get that information.
I love the one where we did the monograph. We had to press the
I didn't do that.
Oh, we had to find like the plant, the herb, and then press it and draw it, and
that's nice.
Yeah, that was fun.
Bit artistic.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I didn't do that. I did so many of mine online because of COVID. It just switched all online. Another question I just I didn't prep you with though.
Yeah.
Did the business units help you much?
No. Because of my own stupidity. Not because they aren't good units. They were actually really good units.
Yeah.
I feel like
you're at the end of your degree, you kind of like just pass.
Yeah, but no, here's my silly mistake that because I was in such a rush to get the degree done as quickly as possible, because I think starting it, coming straight from another degree, I felt like I was already so far behind, and I just had this pressure on myself to be like, you should be finished uni now and you should be working, you have to get it done.
Yeah.
That's a unit that didn't have any prerequisites. So I did it in like my first or second year of the degree, because you could do it early, which meant that I did this whole business plan. I put so much time and effort into it, but by the time I'd finished, the sort of business that I wanted to be working in was very different to initially. So I kind of did it again privately. So I think had I have listened to Endeavour and done the structure that they recommended, it would have been really helpful.
Yeah, okay, interesting. It was a bit of a mixed response, when I talked to some of our friends, they were like, I think it was good though. It had like enough for you to know that you have a lot in front of you.
Yeah, I think it was like a good sort of like dip your toe in the idea that the job is a lot more than just
you want to do this?
The job, like just consulting.
So at what point did you decide to create your own multi-modality clinic? Like you decide to go big or go home?
I'm going to do it. Well, so I think...
Was it when you were studying?
Yeah, while I was studying, because I pretty much went straight from study to like the clinic opening. It was very, very quick.
That was quick.
So like planned it all in my last sort of 18 months of study. I think it's a funny one. I guess I've always known that I wanted to work for myself.
Yeah, you're Aries.
Yeah.
I get that.
I also grew up like my parents vote for themselves, my grandparents vote for themselves. And I think, how some people feel like a certain pressure from their parents to have a certain job or a certain this, or I had none of that. It was like, do whatever you want, do what makes you happy, but do it for yourself.
100%.
So I kind of felt like I, to be honest, didn't actually even consider that there was another option. Like it just didn't enter my brain that I could.
Were you aware of how challenging it is for naturopaths to find work? So you're like, I'm not even going to deal with that. I'm just going to make my own work.
I think I've always had this thing, because it's a really common conversation that even all through uni and all through study, that everyone always said, oh, it's so hard to find a job and it's so hard to find work and it's so hard to do this. And I was like, I'm trying to be really say this properly.
You don't have to be diplomatic here.
But I think that
the truth.
Yeah, well, I think, but if you're really good at your job because you really care about your job, you will find work. And I think it's the same in any industry. Like I'm sure there's struggling doctors.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's lawyers who are finding it hard to like pay their bill. Or like as in like I'm sure that they're like finding it difficult to find a place, or everyone, you have to be a lawyer or a doctor or this or an accountant, but I'm sure that there's, even in those industries, people that are finding it difficult to find work or But I think I just thought, I really, really love this. I'm really super passionate about it. I use so much of my free time to learn more and understand more and try and be better at my job. That if I just stick with that, like I'll be okay. I just had like,
I love that attitude.
So I think I never really, I was like, okay, and it might be hard, but like, I'll be all right. Like, I'll not in like a, just like a little quiet, confident way. That like, it'll be okay. Like I'll find my spot.
Yeah, if you're obsessed with it.
Yeah, and also like if it doesn't, it'll take me where it needs to.
Yeah.
Like if it doesn't take me where I thought it would, it will.
Where did you get that? Because some people are very fear-driven or have like a, without judgment, like a poverty mindset.
Yeah.
And I think we do hear about that.
Yeah.
In, with our colleagues or those who we went to uni with. Where did you get that positive mindset? Is that something you've always had? I mean, you have an amazing energy to you. It's very gentle, it's very sweet, it's very positive, it's a little bit sassy, but you don't know it at first. But was that something that came from your parents?
Yeah, maybe. I think like, and maybe that's that thing about them being like, do whatever you want to do. Like there was never pressure to do a certain thing, and so no job or no profession or no industry or nothing was ever stigmatized. Like nothing was ever good or bad or indifferent. It was just, you can do whatever you want. You have to enjoy it.
It's It's gonna make you happy.
Yeah, because you're going to do it every day for forever, so you have to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And you just have to do it for yourself. And then I think when there's that pressure of you have to do it for yourself, it's like, well, you've got to do a good job of it.
Yes.
Like,
yeah,
and
it
so
puts your name on the line as
yeah,
well,
it's
and your
like
reputation.
So I think it was just always this thing where I was like, well, I have the liberty of picking whatever it is that I want, and I just have to make sure I care enough about it that I'm confident that I will learn enough to do a good job.
Yeah.
So
beautiful.
Yeah, I think I think growing up in a house where like mum and dad worked for themselves, grandparents worked for themselves, and they had a really lovely time and they worked really hard and they did good because they cared so much. And
so you didn't have a poverty mindset pushed upon you. You were like, you grew up watching success and
like you grew up watching people do something that they're good at and they enjoy and really enjoying themselves.
So you knew it was possible.
Yeah, having beautiful friendships. And so you're like, well, yeah, if you do this, if you do good, it will be good.
That's lovely. That's so
lovely. Thanks, Mum and Dad.
That's amazing. I love that. What made you choose the multi-practitioner model versus going solo?
I think for me, a really, really important thing was that I'm a super family-oriented person, and I really, one of my end of the day, the biggest dream ever is to have a happy, healthy, beautiful family. And I wanted to be able to give them a really nice life. Not here yet, but when they are, I want them to be able to do all the things that they want to do. And part of that in today's world means that you have to figure out a way to have a pretty decent income to give this family everything that they want. And so I also had a mum who was a stay-at-home mum, and I loved that so much. Like, I loved that she was with us all the time and she got to do things with us. And so there was this kind of conflicting balance. It was like, I want to provide for a family so that I have, when I have kids and when my partner and I have kids, then it's like, look what we can do with them and do for them. But I also wanted to be able to be there because that was really important for me. And I guess that was the only kind of resolution I could come to about, okay, well, if I just do this on my own independently, there's going to come a time where I'm going to want to have kids and want to be on maternity leave and want to spend time with my babies and want to go to school assemblies.
And it's either going to be a juggle or something misses out.
And I'm either going to have a break from work and choose this, or forgo that to stick with my job. But I was also really lucky that the lady that I knew who was a naturopath that had a clinic had helped me a little bit, and we had a lot of conversations around it, and I could see that she'd done that. So she had a clinic that employed other naturopaths. It was a beautiful environment and everyone was really happy, and she was able to see clients, and then she could take her maternity leave and have her time with her family, and her clients still got care with people that she trusted. But her family was still okay. And so I guess that's kind of in the sense of having like a clinic space that employed other people, was so that eventually one day when I am in a position where that can happen, that the business can still run and I can be there. Because
you've put in a structure, you've made a work family that you trust. And so if you step out for a little while, it keeps going.
That it will be okay. And also to have that continued care for my clients too, so that I've got people there that I trust, and I know we all work really similarly and we all approach things in a similar kind of manner, and that if it's not me, they're still going to get the same level of care and energy. And then I guess multimodality was probably because while I was studying, I worked in a multimodality clinic. And I just saw how lovely it was when someone could come in, say, for their couples coming in for fertility, and then they could get acupuncture alongside their naturopathy, and then they had a nutrition plan. And I just thought it was really cohesive and beautiful. And
it's good for business. I think, I get to this later on, but some of the advice I would have for naturopaths trying to start out is have, if you can, a few things you offer. So obviously naturopathy is huge and can offer so much, but I do other things. So I do the Reiki, I do the medical astrology, and it gives you other things that you can offer, and they complement each other so nicely.
And I think it's like some people, that's just not what they're interested in. Like, you know, like some people just don't want to see a naturopath, and like that's fine.
Yeah.
But like that's you don't have to. That's
or
okay.
they don't want to deal with their health.
Yeah, or
which is
like,
quite common.
Or I don't want to talk to someone about my problems, but I'm more than happy to lie there and have my acupuncture done to support my digestion when I'm quiet and peaceful. And you know, like there's different ways that you can approach different people, and different things suit others. So I thought
100%.
having a couple of things in one space makes it a little bit more convenient for clients. It's also really handy for practitioners because they can like collaborate on cases, which is really nice. And it's also just makes it a more enjoyable environment. Like we all come in, and when there's other people at work, it's so lovely to have a chat and see what they're doing and how and learn off each other as well.
That is the one thing that I miss. It's like I'm such a hermit and I love working by myself. But then there are times where it's like, you're by yourself, and you know, you got to reach out to people.
Yeah.
Because otherwise sometimes you get a case and you're like, oh, that's tricky.
Yeah, you're like, oh.
It'd be really lovely just to like pop your head in the next door going, hey, what do you think
about this? Yeah.
Absolutely. That is a huge upside to having that multimodality model. Okay, could you take me through the process of establishing your clinic, like finding a location?
Yeah.
I guess without, going to personal details, like, did you save up money? Then did you nab a location? That whole process?
Yeah. So I, at the time where I grew up like kind of Fremantle way, which is quite, if you don't know Perth, it's south of the river, pretty like close to the coast, really, really beautiful area. But there's quite a lot of holistic medicine, wellness, like complementary medicine kind of services in that space. And I've also worked in a clinic that was further up in Mosman Park. And again, there's quite a lot in that area.
Mosman Park.
Yeah, very fancy. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then at the time of when I was studying, I was living really far north for the first time in my life.
Okay.
So I knew that I wanted to have a clinic. I knew that there was going to be a business. I knew there had to be a physical space. Like for me, that was really important. And I didn't want to have to drive too far to work. So I had to start looking in places that I was very unfamiliar with. But I just had like a certain, I guess, like a client in mind. Like I knew what sort of people that I wanted to be working with.
So pause you there. That's so important. You'd already worked out the person, the type of client that you wanted to bring in, and then you sort of molded.
Yeah, and then I went to find
around
them.
Yeah. Okay, that's a really good point for anyone watching this who's, starting their business. Sorry to cut you off, but to know your client, like your client is so different to my client.
Yeah.
And it's very evident when you walk into our spaces. Yeah. So that's a good point. So you found you knew the type of client you wanted.
So I had like this big A3 like paper pad thing. I'm a bit of a visual person.
Yeah.
And I had literally like brainstormed my client, like who my client was and what sort of person that I was going to be working with. And then
You're manifesting things.
Yeah. So I knew who my client was, what sort of people that I was going to be working with. Like obviously people have to value their health. Unfortunately, naturopathy isn't Medicare or private health rebatable or covered. So it's like a luxury service. Like to be able to come and see a naturopath is absolutely a luxury, and you have to be able to afford it as well, which is another thing. So and
we have to get over a lot of guilt around that.
Yeah.
Because it is expensive and it's not.
It's like that thing about like what you value, right? So I was like, well, this is what the service is going to have to cost, because like we've got a massive HECS debt to pay, and you've got this, you've got this knowledge, and knowledge is worth something, and you can't undervalue your knowledge, time and effort as well. But also at the same time, I couldn't put my head in the sand about it that's unfortunately not accessible for everyone. So I was quite mindful of, okay, well, where is that an accessible service for, like what people can afford this service and what people value this service.
Socioeconomic demographic, you had to target them too.
so health values, definitely socioeconomic. I wanted to enjoy going to work, so it had to be a place that I wanted to go to.
Yeah.
And I really, for me, I think that I wanted the clinic to become something that was really part of a community. Like, I didn't just want to be this, I don't know, isolated thing. Like, I think it's really important to, as my values, to be in part of a community and ingrained with people. So I was sort of looking for a specific type of spot.
Yeah.
And there was one spot in particular that I found. There's one little,
pretty nice.
Yeah, there's one little street in Perth, really like one street back from the beach. It's absolutely beautiful. It's got like a couple little cafes and shops, and I was like, yeah, that's it. It's got like a nice community.
And you have these beautiful locals walking their lovely little dogs.
Yeah, all
looking
the
at
people
your street front.
Yeah, all the people are gorgeous. Every person is lovely. I tell everyone, I was like, I've got the nicest clients in the world.
Yeah.
I've got the most gorgeous clients in the world. And yeah, so sorry, I'd found the street where I wanted it to be, and I was like, yep, that's where it's going to be. And I remember telling a few people, and they're like, Anna, you're never going to get a building on that street. No chance, absolutely no chance. So I walked my dogs up and down this street every single morning for 2 years. And I was like, no, I'm going to get one. I'm going to get one.
Do you believe, sorry to tangent, do you believe in manifestation?
Yeah.
And the ability to like, yeah, because I get the impression you're really good at it.
That's why I did it. So now I was like, it'll come. It's fine. I'm not ready yet either. Like, I'm studying, and so yeah, every day for 2 years, just walked up and down the street. And then one day there was a police sign in the window of one of the buildings, and the poor owners of the building, it's private, so it was straight to their phone, not a real estate agent. At 6 a.m. I was like, the sign's there, I'm calling. So I think I just kept calling and calling and calling and calling. I'm never this persistent, but I was really persistent about this.
Do what you gotta do.
And I was like, it's just got to happen. And yeah, eventually they're like, yep, that's fine, you can have the space. So that was like getting the space. Yeah, like money wise, there was like savings to start everything, which was really lucky, because I was pretty set that I didn't want to take out a loan.
Yes.
Just because I already have a big HECS debt.
Yeah.
And I think that for me and my personality type, a bit of a stress head, and that would have caused a bit of anxiety. So that was kind of ready to go.
So that's a really good point. And I did the same thing, is earlier in the degree.
Yeah.
My husband, well, he's my boyfriend at the time, but my husband now, we
Bless
knew,
him.
he's pretty good. We knew that we had to do just like you. And so we started saving, even though we weren't 100% sure of what we were going to do. So saving whilst you're in that first year of your degree, getting that 3 years of savings, whether you use it to rent out a small place or start something bigger. Yeah. That's such a good tip.
And I think like I know people who have gone and they've like taken out loans and they've done really well, and they have absolutely zero regrets, and it's great. But I was just like, for me, that's not something that I would feel comfortable doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that was kind of ready to go. Once I found the space, it was all good. And then my little architecture undergrad got its moment to shine.
It sure did. Paid off.
And that was kind of,
because your space is beautiful, and it fits the aesthetic of the neighborhood, like, because you're in a very beachy, affluent, gorgeous area, and the architecture, like the colors, everything you chose is
thanks, Ash.
It's really nice.
Come visit.
When I built this place, I'm like, I like purple.
but that's kind of goes back to as well, like what you're saying, like it's about who it's for. Like the person that you'd envisioned working with is such a different person than what I'd envisioned working with.
And it's true. I get, bless them, and I say it with love, all the weirdos. I get a lot of weird people, and I'm a weird person. And if you look at my space, it's a little bit like, oh, she got crystals and owls around the place, like it really does draw in your people. Yeah, you want to. So I kind of, in that, when I had my ideal client in mind, it was like it got really, really in depth. Like it wasn't just they need this. It was like, what does their home look like? What space do they feel comfortable in? Like it was really
like what do they need, like what down like the little details, like the teacups and the glasses and like little details were all, I want these people to come in and feel calm and at peace and like they're welcome. And I think it's a tricky industry as well because it's got a bit of stigma around it where people are like, oh, voodoo, like witch medicine. I'm like, man, I've got like a 4-year health science degree. I sweated over at my desk.
Yes. All the pharmacology, the biology, the chemistry, the phytochemistry.
So it's like that
God.
delicate balance, right? I want it to be like warm and welcoming and people to feel safe and like
it's very professional
happy,
too.
but I want it to be like professional and clean and neat and people to feel it's a place of legit. It's a place of science as well. It's not but the balance, because we like the other stuff too.
Yeah, you're right. There's so much stigma around what we do, and I don't know how long ago it was, but I don't know, was it 15 years ago? I don't know, look it up. You only needed like a diploma,
like a 12-month diploma,
right, and then you're just slinging all these herbs which can just do a lot to your body, good and bad. And I think that's where the stigma came for us, is that they were underqualified people trying to cure cancer and stuff like that.
It's like you gotta stay in your lane as well, you know.
And so now we're fighting so hard to fix the reputation, be like, no, we did 4 years of a health science degree. And you know what I've noticed, I've seen a few nurses. I love nurses. I totally respect nurses. They have a hard job, but they're not always aware of all the stuff we know. And what I've sort of gleaned is that we do so much science, so much about the human body in that holistic sense, that systems approach. And people don't really know that. And we're working so hard to get that out.
I have a lot of clients actually that are nurses, and I love working with them so much because we can have a conversation on that level because that's what they're health literate. Work. That's their work. So they really, and they're so obviously that their passion is in the human body and health and helping people. So it's really, really interesting. And a lot of them have actually transitioned into study, like over the course of, because I think they're like, wow, this is so amazing. I'm learning so much more about the human body and this would be so helpful.
It's probably what they were hoping to get out of nursing in like truly helping people, but then realizing maybe it's not always.
It's really lovely. I really like being able to, and I learn so much from them as well. They're like, oh, we like look for this and this, and I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing, because I'd be looking for that. It's really nice.
And then I guess it just makes you more, conversant with the medical field and understanding them. What?
Sorry, got a bit distracted.
No, that's fine. I took us on a tangent. I just think of things. Any major challenges you faced during setup? That maybe people wouldn't expect. Or is it just the whole thing?
The whole thing. No, I kind of laugh. Like sometimes I just wake up and I'm like, what, why did I do this? This is the stupidest thing I've ever done.
I remember doing, what were the classes that we do where we do clinic and then we workshop? And like, you would be at workshop, but you weren't at workshop. You were like furiously like doing architecture or something on your computer.
Trying to design the clinic.
You're trying to set up a clinic. Lecturer's like talking and you're like, yeah, whatever.
Cool, I'm busy. No, I actually really love all my lecturers. Apologies. Oh God, there's honestly it's definitely hands down, absolutely. It's like the biggest cliche in the world, but it's the hardest thing I've ever done. Like it's no word of a lie. It's definitely not glamorous.
There's so many things that you don't realize.
I think the first 8 months, 6 to 8 months of the clinic being open it's so funny. You're working with people on their health. It was absolutely the unhealthiest I've ever been in my whole life. Not sleeping, not eating, not exercising, because you're just so stressed.
Were you taking your work home and
and then
juggling it well? Or?
And I think because initially it was just me as well. So I think it was like 4 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Baptism of fire.
Like trying to just get everything done. And you're learning as you go as well, right? Like especially business wise. The degree is really great in terms of understanding how to support people, and if someone presents with a problem that you're not sure of or you're not aware of or you haven't come into contact with before, you have all of this amazing knowledge on how to find knowledge.
That's true.
So you're really in a good position to like seek answers. And I would say to so many new grads as well, like, and people studying, you're so lucky because we're in an industry where people are just kind.
Yeah.
Like, people actually want to help. So it's not, if you have a problem where you don't know how to solve something, you can call a friend who's a naturopath or call another naturopath, and they'll willingly give you information.
It's not a huge community, especially when you whittle it down to those who end up in practice.
And it's not like, oh, I know how to help this and that's my secret, I'm keeping it to, like, people are so gorgeous, which is really lovely. So in terms of like cases and clients and problems that way, that was something that was like, okay, that was like more comfortable. And if I had an issue with something, there's so many people you can reach out to for help, which is really beautiful. I think it was, for me, the bit that I found the hardest was more like the business side of things, and the stress.
Like the admin work.
Like the admin and the bills and the trying to figure out how to do things. And I'm not super computer literate. Trying to do your accounting and do this and log into this, and they send you an email here.
All the new different systems and softwares that you sign up for and navigating that.
And there's just sometimes stuff would just happen that you would never, I don't know, I think like the day before the clinic was meant to open, we got sent the wrong like phone, and the phone number like didn't connect to the phone, and I spent all this money on getting business cards printed and signage and letter drops, and the phone number was not connected, and they're like, oh, you're gonna have to change your phone number, and I was like, I can't change the phone number. Anyway, it was fine, they fixed it, but just these little things that you don't consider.
I feel like in that early time, and what you did was quite large compared to my experience, but it was like, there was a couple months there where I felt like every day was 10 different tasks. And they were all completely different. And you had to just switch hats constantly. So that, I think that is a really tricky thing if you're on your own, or you're leading it on your own with a bit of support.
I guess like getting to the end of the day and like, you know, I would always start the day with a list. Okay, this is what I have to do today. And I would get to the end of the day and my list would always be longer than it was at the start. And I was like,
this is not sustainable.
And I really like accomplishing things. I really like ticking them off. But that was, so I just can't get on top of it.
Yeah, but obviously you have now.
We get there.
You've got a bit of a flow. Oops, my microphone. Whoopsies. How did you approach finding and selecting other practitioners to come work with you? I mean, were they just throwing themselves at you, or?
No. It's a really, really hard one, I think, because like the industry is quite small as well. So everyone sort of knows everyone.
Yeah.
But I think, I guess like how I'm manifesting my ideal client and where I wanted to be, I've been, whether like I think it's probably been more subconscious, really, really specific on the atmosphere I wanted at work.
Okay.
Like
so the people you brought in.
Yeah, like I really, 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 really love my job. I really love my clients. I love my space. It's so good. I'm so lucky. But I've also worked in other roles before, and you can love your role and your job, but if the people that you're working with are difficult, or it's like not a good mix with you, it can turn something that you really love into like you can not want to go to work, not for your work or the people you're going to see, but the people you work with. And I never wanted that. I was like, I want everyone to want to come to work. I want people to be like, oh, I get to go to work today. Like, because that's how I feel. So I want like...
Yeah. And I guess you got to be protective of your baby.
Yeah.
You've put so much into it. You can't have one stray person bringing in chaos.
Yeah. So it was really like like practitioners that obviously are like really open-minded and want to learn, because I've had this vision that I want the clinic to be a way that, say, if I'm not there for some point, my clients will get the same level of care in the same kind of format. So sometimes if practitioners have been working for a long time, they're really like set in how they want to do things. Like, no, we have to do it like this. Like, well, that's great. I'd love to learn how you want to do it, but let's we also need to get to that point where the method was consistent, I guess.
Yes.
So people who are kind of like open-minded and like wanted to work in a team environment was like really, really important. And just that like energy thing. I really wanted to just feel like the people, first of all, really wanted to be there. Like I didn't want someone who's like kind of dragging their feet into work. So I guess the personality and the like passion for the job was probably the most important thing for me.
So it's like vibe check.
Yeah.
Flexibility.
Yeah.
Open-minded.
Yeah.
Team player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I was really happy to be patient. Like I'm really happy to be patient. Like there's rooms in that building that are not getting used yet because I'd rather be patient.
Yeah.
I'd rather just leave the space open to the right fit when it comes.
Yeah.
And if that takes years, like that's okay. Yeah.
So how many people do you have working with you?
We've got an acupuncturist, so a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner.
Yeah. Amy?
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
And then 2 other naturopaths. And then there's 2 girls on admin who are studying. So one of them will graduate in March of next year. So hopefully she'll start consulting a little bit as well.
Oh, what an opportunity you're giving them.
Yeah, well,
epic.
Yeah, so that's exciting. And then another one of the other girls that's on admin, she's got a year to go of her degree. So
perfect.
Yeah, probably come next year. Hopefully we'll get someone else in admin to replace them.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll always find a student who's willing to come in just to even be in the environment as a workplace.
Yeah, the students, it's the best. I love having the students in. So nice.
Well, I saw the other day you posted something like, would a student be interested in coming and doing, what was it, some like mixing herbs or something?
Yeah, I just had like, normally on Saturdays I'm there on my own, and I looked at my diary and I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to cope with that on my own. I need help. And I'm desperate. Jump on the Endeavour page, and so many people messaged like, oh, I'll come help. Let me help. I was like, you guys are the best. Yeah.
Okay. So someone coming to bother us? Oh no, it's just my daughter. That's fine. Okay. What aspect? I guess we've kind of covered this. What aspects of running your own clinic surprised you the most?
I think that in my head, it was going to be like 90% me being a naturopath, 10% running a business.
Right.
It's probably like the other way.
That is a bit surprising.
No, not quite 90-10, but it's definitely like, I think
50-50?
Probably like 60-40, 60 to business, 40 to practitioner, I would say.
Yeah, you do spend so much time organising and sorting out things.
Yeah, I think a lot more time than I'd kind of anticipated.
Have you delegated like social media out to someone, or are you running it all?
I did for a little while, but I just felt like I think it kind of lost its authenticity, which was a little bit tricky. And I think I realized that I quite enjoy that creative aspect as well.
Yes.
But I just need to delegate my time for myself better so I can do it. I've just recently outsourced like my accounting. So I was like the books and stuff, which is a massive weight off my shoulders because that's not my forte. And we've got the 2 girls on admin now as well, which helps a lot with those kind of like little tasks that were sort of really chewing up the day, like emails and phone calls and making up scripts and stuff like that. Even like little things like they're little angels, like I'll come out and the whole bathroom will be spotless. I'm like, oh my God, no one even asked you to do that. Thanks.
That would be such a weight off your shoulders.
Yeah, it's just all these little things that are massive. Yeah.
So when possible, when financially viable, delegating to trusted people.
100%. It's like even like my bookkeeping, I've only done that in the last probably 4 weeks. And I'm like 15 months in. I wish I'd done it from week 1, day 1. Like it's because it's a mess because it was not left up to me and I didn't do a good job of it.
Were you just using your software to?
Yeah, my
I
software
barely understand.
Oh, my software is like
finances.
connected to Xero and accounting software.
Yeah.
So I was okay. I was able to, I kind of figured it out. It just was one of those jobs that would always get put to the bottom of the pile because the urgency was like not as much as someone needing a referral letter or a treatment plan or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, or like stock to be ordered for the shelf, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. So that's a good one to delegate if possible.
Yeah. And I think if you don't like social media, absolutely delegate. It was really good, but I just felt like I was like, I actually really kind of enjoyed doing that.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was maybe...
It's creative and it puts you in a different mindset.
Yeah.
Different zone. Well, I want to skip that question. How do you balance clinical work with business management?
Yeah, we just did that. So.
Yeah. How many hours a week do you think you're dedicating to your work?
Too many. I work 6 days a week, like in the clinic.
Yeah.
So I'm there from 8 till 5 Monday to Friday, and then 8 till 2 on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But I'm often there like earlier.
Yeah.
So that's like the hours I'm definitely there. I don't know how many that is. 10, 50, like 55 hours set have to be in the building. But then I'm often there like before work, after work. I do like appointments on a Sunday. I always have like a couple of hours for my admin.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll
60 something.
I'll say I will say at least 70.
Wow.
I would say it's, and I know it's okay because I know it's not going to be like that forever.
Yeah.
But I think at the moment.
And so that's so important to make sure that you adore your space and the people you're around, because if you're going to dedicate 70 hours a week.
100%. Like I think if you're walking into a space that makes you feel unhappy, or that you've got some, like you work with someone, you guys just don't get along, and Ash is coming on. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it'd be the worst. Just like, I was like today, I was like, I can't wait to go see Ash. It's so nice. Like that's what you want when you.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know. Maybe some people it's more motivating. I don't know. Maybe they focus better if talk to their work buddies.
Yeah. No, that's that's a really good point. If you're gonna have to dedicate that many hours, you gotta love it. You gotta love everything about it. Let me think. I feel like I've covered so many of the questions I had. Can you share some of your most rewarding moments or an achievement?
Ooh.
Your grand opening was banging.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. And the first birthday party was really good.
Yes, that too.
I think that was a really big one for me, because it was like the opening was just like family and friends.
Yeah.
Which was really lovely and really nice. And it was like a massive achievement. Like, oh my God, it's done. It's here. The space actually exists. Like, wow. It was kind of funny because I felt like there was such a build up to it opening that it was almost like when it was open, the job was done. And then you're like, oh no, now the job begins. But I think the first birthday for me was a really big one, because it went from just family and friends celebrating to like family, friends, local business owners, clients.
Yeah.
Like that was really cool, because it was really nice, because there's like this little, it was like almost like the little community that the clinic had created was there too. And that was really special.
So that family had grown. I'm sorry if you hear a dog barking. It's my dog.
And I think as well, like a massive one for me was getting the 2 girls on admin. Because I was like, oh my God, this is really cool. And I've got this space that now looks after me and it lets me live like a nice little life.
Yeah.
That it's helping all of these people in the community. Like people are getting healthier and coming in feeling better. And
being able to afford to pay 2 people.
And to be like, I've created work for people in an industry that has a reputation for not having work.
Yeah.
I think
that's huge.
That was a big one for me as well. And I think I talk about it quite a bit when students speak to me, because like I said before, there's such a thing like, there's no work in that industry. I don't know why you're bothering with that degree. You'll never get a job. And I'm like, well, that's not true.
You have that attitude.
That's factually incorrect. See
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I
that
think
was-
you've contributed a lot to the community and the profession, especially like in Perth, by doing what you've done. And to like anyone who opens up or commits to starting their own naturopathic business, whether it's online through telehealth, in a, you know, I have a place on my property, and you've gone, you know, balls to the wall and got a beautiful place. You know, like
all or nothing for me.
hats off to anyone who does that, because it's kind of going against the narrative of like, you can't make work, you can't do it.
Yeah, I think that was
like, no, you
and
can.
I think that was a really important thing for me as well. Like you said about like my beliefs, that I'm like, no, like that it is possible. It's absolutely possible.
Yeah.
And when the feedback that you're always getting is, no, it's not, like you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that, you'll never find work, like you'll never do this, you'll never.
And that's those people projecting their
and
inner
it's like,
fears.
Well, okay, but actually, if you can, like you can. We don't need to be like.
Yeah.
But that was a big one, to be able to think that, okay, there's an industry that has a reputation for giving people degrees that
expensive degrees
have no place to work. And I was like, no, you're creating jobs for these people, and that's really important, and you're doing it in a way that's making your community healthier. Like I walked into, there's a little coffee shop down from the clinic that I go to most mornings, and I know heaps of the people that go there, and every time you go in you have a coffee with someone gorgeous, and it's the best. And I walked in, and there was a couple that I know sitting at the table having a coffee, and a few other families, and I went in to go, and my friend, the lady who was sitting down with her partner, and she goes, that's the naturopath, that's the one that keeps our community healthy. And I was like,
wow.
She was like, yeah, that's the one that we did.
What a compliment.
It was just really cute that they were like, oh yeah, when someone has we just go see her, like, we don't know, well, she'll help, she will know someone who might be able to.
You cannot pay for that advertising.
And it was just so lovely. I was like, because that was a big goal for me as well, to be not just to, like, it wasn't just to have a business. It's not just to, like, that's not the point. The business for me was so I could have a family. Like,
yes.
And then the clinic was, I wanted to be part of a community. Like, I really wanted that community atmosphere where everyone's there to look after each other, and to connect people and stuff like this. I was like, that
most
was cool.
of your clientele relatively local?
There's we've got quite a lot that are local.
Yeah.
But we do, like, I see people like interstate and overseas, like on Zoom.
How do they find you? Is it like they know someone, or?
I think so. I think like even sometimes we've had people that have been like FIFO, and then they've gone to a mine site, and then they've like, someone's like, what are you doing? Or you're feeling better, or you're looking better, and then they're like, I've been talking to this person, and then they get in touch. So
the word of mouth goes beyond your local community. It's really
and then mostly local, but there's definitely, it's all like mostly word of mouth. So it'll be someone who's local's mum's cousin's sister who's from somewhere else.
I when I started here, because I don't know, if you're in Perth, you know where Kalamunda is. It's in the hills, and if you don't, it's just like a pokey little suburb on the outskirts of the city. And when starting this practice, I was like, I have to get in with my community. They're going to be the first people to support me. And I've tried really hard at that, and I think I have succeeded a little bit. Like, it's always like, I have such a different setup to you. I don't have a street frontage, and no one comes down my street unless you live on the street, because it's like a loop. It's like, you know, but I think working wherever you are with your local community, like I started off, and I was doing I know the local yoga studio owner, so I did a talk there. I've done letter drops. I sweet talked my way into the local newspaper for free, but really hammering around your local community. I have a bus stop sign at the moment, so that the 20,000 people that go up Kalamunda Road will see it, and in their subconscious, they will know my name.
Yeah, well,
but it's really that local community is where it's at, in my opinion, to
it's
start
everything. Like that's even literally for me, like going to the same cafe every morning to have a coffee.
with. Yeah.
I enjoy it. Like it makes me happy.
That's a really good marketing technique.
I have the best
Start
day.
doing that.
Like, and I've met all these beautiful people, and then you
Sit there reading your book on naturopathy.
Yeah. But I think it's like anything that you have to make yourself available to them for them to be available to you. It's like that
and
reciprocal.
seeing you in person,
yeah,
and talking to you, is so powerful.
And generally, like I've like your clients are always health conscious people that care about being well.
Yeah.
And you probably are too, because that's why you're in this industry. So if you are doing activities that are aligned with that, you'll be in the space with your clientele.
Yes.
So if you love going to yoga, go to yoga, because your clients who like going to yoga will have similar cares.
Yes.
That, you know, like go to the local gym if that's what you're into. Go to the local pool if that's what you're like. Whatever it is that you like that's aligned with your values as a naturopath, do more of it. Like, because that's where everyone will be that also is aligned with you.
Yes.
Plus, it means you have a way better time. You get to spend your time doing things you love.
Yeah.
So.
And it's fabulous, like word of mouth, getting to know the people. They'll remember you, and you know, it becomes a lovely relationship. Like, they're coming to you for a service, and it is helping you make money, and money's not a dirty thing. We need money to survive. But also, you know, the time they spend with you, that might be the only time that they get listened to and taken seriously. And then you give them these tips and this advice and suggestions, and they go home, they're like, oh my gosh, someone heard. Like, the exchange is beyond a supplement and some health advice.
Oh, 100%.
It is so powerful, and just having someone listen to people who come and go, my doctor thinks I'm fine, but I'm not fine. And that's amazing when you can do that for someone. What? No, not that question. Never mind.
We'll skip that one.
Has your vision for the clinic evolved over time? Or conversely, has it been perfect from the start? Did you get it right at the beginning?
I think that, like, in terms of like visually, like what it is now, that's what I wanted it to be like. But in terms of like where I would like it to go, I think that changes all the time. Like, I think it really does change all the time. I have like a pretty clear direction that's consistent, but there's always like variables in it. Do you know, like I know where I would love for it to be in like 10 years time, say, and that's pretty constant. That hasn't shifted, but there's always that little things like, oh, we could do a little bit like this, or it could go a little bit over there. And that is definitely changing as I practice more and see more and figure out what I like to do more. Even things, so
as you evolve,
even things like, I think opening the clinic, I was like, oh I'm just going to work like 6 days a week for like for 5 years and just do as much as I can. It's like 15 months in, I physically cannot see people 6 days a week. Like, that's actually impossible. And so then I've had to adjust things because I had these goals set up about, I'll be able to work this amount of hours in this way and in this format. I'm like, actually, for me, and that's not going to be possible, because I'll end up very, very unwell, very, very exhausted, and you don't realize. So in that way, like, I've had to make little adjustments in my brain of, okay, Anna, like, you're probably going to have to cut that here and do that instead.
Expectations and boundaries.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So sorry, I don't know if that answers the question. Yes and no all at once.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay, this is a challenging one. How did you and do you navigate pricing yourself? So this was something I found super challenging. And I think sometimes there can be a bit of judgment. Like, do you know what she's charging? Or I'm only charging this. And, I found it very challenging. So I did the naturopathy degree, but I've also got a Bachelor of Complementary Medicine.
Yeah.
And, you know, at first there's like a thought, well, I want to help everyone and I want to be accessible to
100%.
everyone. So $50. But then, you know, you go, well, what do I value my time at? With my 7 years or 4 years of degrees, or whatever it is, and the knowledge and, you know, all the CPE, the extra education we have to put in. And so that price thing, it's a deeply emotional and very personal thing. And I think it's really intimately tied to our self-esteem, because halfway through my degree, I was like, oh, no, $50, I'll sort you out, you know. And now I'm like, no, actually, if I'm going to sit down, and we have slightly different pricing and for very different reasons, but like now I'm like, if I sit down with you for an hour and a half, I do about half an hour prep before you come in, depending what's going on, and I might spend an hour doing your treatment plan and then another hour researching. 5 hours I've put into one person. And your doctor doesn't do that. Here in Australia, you spend $90, $100 on 10 minutes of your GP and you just get referred out. So that pricing thing was a really interesting dynamic to explore.
Yeah.
Tell me about your story with that.
Yeah, I really, really, really struggled with it because very much like you, I was like, I just want to be able to help everyone.
Yeah.
But what's happened, everyone used to say to me, when you're on a plane, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know, like before you help the kids, you got to help yourself because you're useless to them unless you're oxygenated. Like unless 100%. You're alive, you're not going to help someone. So that was kind of something that sort of slapped me back to reality. Like, hey, Anna, unless you're actually charging an amount that is accurate of the value of your time, that allows you to cover your costs and allows you to live a life where you are able to be healthy and well, you're not going to provide a quality service to someone.
And your overheads.
Yeah. So I was kind of because I find that topic really difficult. Like that's something that I have this big thing where I'm like, oh no, it's too much or it's too much. But like, who am I to say it's too much? If it's what you value, then it's nothing. So that was difficult for me. But I guess in that sense, I was kind of lucky that I have massive outgoings, like massive overheads. I have really, really big overheads.
Okay.
So that sort of dictated a lot of my pricing and took the emotional aspect out of it because
it's practical now.
This is actually just logistically, it's not going to work unless this is what happens. Yeah. Like you actually cannot afford to open those doors unless this is the price point. So,
and luckily you'd already picked your clientele and their values and their socioeconomic. Yeah. So it kind of makes sense.
And then I kind of so that was kind of one part of it. And then the other part was that I was pretty aware that I need to be charging something that's reflective like you with the time that I spend and the education that I have and the care that I'm giving and the effort that I'm going to. Yeah. That also allows you have to, at the end of the day, you have to work to like live. Like you have to be able to afford your life.
Yes.
And that life needs for me to be healthy and functioning and well to care for others. So that was in there. And then I guess the other little component of it was that I wanted people to actually, when I really sat down and thought about it, the price point had to be enough that it was an investment.
Yes.
Like they had to take it seriously.
Yep.
Because we were in student clinic and consults are $25 and
people just wouldn't show up.
People don't show up. They don't do anything that they're told. They don't take their supplements. They come back. They've like not gone for any of their blood tests. They haven't even opened the email with their treatment plan that you've spent 4 hours creating and researching. They're like, oh, what treatment plan? You're like, oh no, but there's so much I want to help you with. And I was up till 3 a.m. doing that.
Yeah.
And do you know how many research papers I read to create that?
Yeah.
So in a kind of interesting way, I think as well, when people have to invest money in something and you have to look, like I look at it as an investment.
Oh, yeah.
Because it has to be a sum that's significant enough that it's like, oh, wow, okay, I need to listen here. Like this is important. I value what this person has to say to me. Yeah. I value the advice that they're giving me. And I value my health enough to go down this route, which means that I'm willing to make changes.
Yeah.
Which also kind of weeds out people that aren't ready yet.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. But you, as a busy practitioner with a lot of other things to consider, I only want to be working with people if I feel like I'm going to be able to help them. It's a waste of their time and my time if I don't feel like I'm going to give them any improvement to their quality of life or their symptom presentation.
Yeah.
And in order for me to help them, especially as a practitioner, that one of my philosophies is minimal prescribing. Like I don't want to be sending people home with 15 supplements.
No.
But on the flip side of that, it means you're probably going to have to do a little bit of work on your diet and lifestyle.
Dang.
You know, like
surprise.
You know, like well, yeah, if I can keep your prescription as minimal as possible, which I really think is super important, because I don't like that idea of I went to see a naturopath and I spent $1,500 on supplements. Like that makes my eyes water.
It's unsustainable.
And it also makes it super inaccessible, right? Like, and then like, are you really helping this person if they have to take all of this stuff to feel somewhat okay?
And it kind of goes against our philosophy, like getting to the root cause, where most of the time it's like get some sunshine and drink some water, go for a run, eat some
when
food.
I feel like when people come in and they see the consult as an investment, and it's like, okay, that's expensive, or like, yep, I can, absolutely, I can afford to do it and I want to do it because I value my health. But because they've invested in it, as opposed to like a throwaway amount of money that means nothing to them, they take what you have to say seriously. So when they come home, they sit down, they go through their treatment plan, they like get their grocery list out, and they actually make those changes, and then you're able to help them.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think,
and it's obviously reflective of the people, or like the people that live in the suburb that you work are like relatively affluent, and you know, for what one person in your suburb, what is an investment for them is going to be far too expensive for a different person of a different socioeconomic background in a different suburb. So I guess it has to reflect like your location and so
like,
many things.
It's such a hard, it's a really difficult one to come up with, because so like the most, I guess, in terms of like the most important thing for me was that it had to like cover my outgoings and overheads. That was like a big, okay, well, how many, how many hours are in a week, how many hours you're open for in a week, how many consulting rooms are, so you can work out the capacity of your business to earn X amount of dollars. So all of your little
self-esteem issues go out the door when you look at your outgoings. You're like, look, I've got to live.
You're like, this is just the math says.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the other stuff kind of comes into play after that, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one, because I remember for like the last 2 years of clinic, people talking about it, and you compare yourself and you're like, oh, well, so-and-so thinks that, and so-and-so thinks that. You're like, oh my gosh.
I guess the other thing that's maybe also like, I definitely considered this and maybe important for people that are like considering price point, is that I didn't want to have to change my price point for a very long time.
Okay, yeah.
So because like as a naturopath, you want to be working with clients long term. You don't just want to see someone and then never see them again. That's not how the process kind of works.
Yeah.
And so I know like a lot of new grads come out and they have their price point quite low. It's like, I don't have experience, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. But then you get all these clients at this low price point, and then all of a sudden you've got more experience and you value yourself and your time more, and they're like, okay, I need to increase my prices.
Yeah.
But then have you attracted clients that can't commit to that price increase, or is that going to upset those clients? Like, so I had that in my mind as well, that I wanted it to be something that was going to be relatively, I don't want to have to raise my prices for a very long time. So I kind of took that into consideration.
That's really a good point. Yeah. You're right, because a lot of us start out quite low. And there's a huge like I guess a self-esteem, and a lot of us jump into practice going, we don't know enough.
Yeah.
And we think that because we know we don't know everything, or we know that there is so much more to know. And we feel like these tiny little things are like, oh, but look at Leah Hechtman and what she does. And I don't know anything. And we so doubt ourselves. And it, sometimes it could be reflected in how we present or what we offer, or we're like, oh, 50% discount just to get someone in the door. And there is like such a self-esteem, and we undervalue what we know and how much we know.
100%.
And I think that is something that, especially if you're a student and you watch this, to know that you know a lot, and if you don't know the answer, you know how to get the answer, and like to always go back to basics. There is so much to offer in the basics, because most of us haven't got that right. So
100%.
Yeah. How did you build and maintain your client base?
Okay. So very slowly at start.
Yes.
Slow and steady. And
that's a good point, actually. You don't open your doors and people don't just rush in banging down your door.
No, I actually think we had a conversation about this
that
not that long ago.
Conversation was everything to me. I think the first time we caught up at my place, I said, Anna, where are my people? And you're like, no, give it time. Like, I'd been open for 3 months, and I was like, where is everyone?
Yeah, why are they not flocking?
And you were obviously like 8, 9, 10 months ahead of me. And you said to me, like, just trust time and word of mouth, and it takes time. And I held on to that. It actually meant a lot to me to hear. And you're right. There's this huge time factor.
There's such a huge time factor. Like, I think I was talking to someone, it's like a marketing psychology or something, that it takes someone 20 or 30 exposures to a product before they're going to purchase it. Your service, in this case, is a product, I guess.
Yeah.
And obviously it's not the same, but people aren't just going to like walk across the road and be like, oh, naturopath, I'll book in for that. Like, it's just not a thing that, like, I would never do that. If I was going to see a naturopath, I would never just walk into a random building and book an appointment. Like, you're going to research it, you're going to think about it, you're going to know
people, that you have an issue.
First of all, you've got to have something like presenting that you need help with, usually. Like, and typically in this kind of industry, like, if I'm going to book an appointment with a medical professional, I want feedback from someone else. Like, I want someone else's experience. And so as a new business or a new practitioner, it's really difficult because you don't have that. And so it takes a lot of time. So I think that was one thing, was just like patience.
Did you do a lot of marketing, like, or advertising?
So we had like our social media, but I was just doing that. And then obviously I think, like, I do have a really beautiful location, and I've got a big street frontage, and that really helps. Like, the whole front of the clinic is glass, so you can see all the herbs on the walls.
You want to walk in.
You have like, there's like curiosity, like, what is that? Initially, now I take my dog to work every day, so the door has to be shut. But initially I didn't, and the door was always open. So I tried to make it like a little bit more welcoming. It's like a big street frontage on a street where people like go for coffee and stuff. So there's people just walking past every day. So I guess initially it was probably just that street front exposure.
That's powerful. That's a huge
that
thing.
was just, and and like, that was one of the things that you're like, okay, well, my outgoing is going to be massive for this. I'm willing to accept that risk. Like, that's important to me right now. So I will do that. And then, so that the first couple of like clients were probably just like walking past, curiosity, would come in, ask questions.
Those angels that just take a punt on you. They're like, okay.
Felt my heart. And then from there, it's just really been like word of mouth.
Yeah, okay. So that's been your strongest.
Yeah, word of mouth's definitely been the like biggest thing. Like, a couple of people like come through like social media, especially because I've got even some people like interstate that like randomly will see a post and they're like, oh, and they like look through things, and I guess they will like go and check your Google reviews or whatever. But that's kind of important too, like asking people to do them if you feel comfortable to.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely.
And then probably, like I said to you before, like, at any opportunity to like insert myself into the local community in ways that I wanted to. Like, I'm not
like, it's authentic.
Yeah, like, I think there's no use me going to like the wine bar every Friday. Like, that's not who I am.
Do you know what that does to your liver?
No, but it's just like sure, every now and then with a group of my friends, but like in terms of consistently showing up somewhere to be myself, that's probably not the place I'm going to do it.
And that's really aligned with what.
So that was a big one. And then in terms of like maintaining client base, I think.
Oh, that's the service, isn't it?
Yeah, like that. I guess that's just like your connection with your clients, and like how much value you give them and how much value they feel from you. Like it's and sometimes you have clients and like you're just not aligned, and that's okay. And I think and also there's some people will come to see a naturopath as like the first time, they haven't seen one before, and they don't really know what to expect, and then you tell them what it's gonna, and they're like, oh God, I'm not ready to make those changes. And you might think, oh my God. And then like I've had recently people booking in for follow-ups, I haven't seen them for like 10 months. Wow. So I think that initial appointment, it was like, whoa.
You just had to plant a seed.
I am not ready for that. Like you kind of send them the treatment plan of like, oh, I'm going to get you to like grocery shop like this and make this kind of food. And they were obviously like, whoa, too much. And then that level of readiness has come now. And so then you start to see them. So I guess in terms of maintaining, like you said, probably just it's down to the value you give your clients and that the relationship you can build with them and the respect and the trust. And
I found with advertising, so I have a very, maybe not as focused as you. I'm a, throw shit at wall and see what sticks kind of person. And so my husband and I have tried a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I've done like paid Instagram stuff, Facebook, Google ads. I have a sign at the front of my place, the bus stop sign. Paid $900 for a sign on a bin next to a bus stop. Don't know if that was the best move, right? But the best and the most effective advertising I have found is a really good website. I'm gonna go on a tangent now, because Google Ads has for me, because I don't have like street frontage.
Yeah.
So people find me because generally they're looking for a naturopath.
Yeah.
And then in the area I come up with about 2 others, and then it's my website that will get them, because they're going to click on the 3 websites at the top, look at them, and when they pick mine. And I'm going to go off on a tangent, but so many, and I learned this from a webinar that I did. So many people will start their naturopathic business. They'll make a website. There's a beautiful picture of them. Hi, I'm so-and-so. I've had these health challenges and I've done this degree and I know this. That's all lovely. Your clients don't give a shit. They do not care. If they care, they'll go search for that later. What they want on the front of your website, so I'm telling you this if you're a student or practicing, is, hello, my name is Ash. Do you want me to fix your gut problems? Because I can. Call me now, book in. Boom. What am I going to do for you immediately?
Yeah.
So when I made those changes on my website, because at first my website was like, hi, I'm Ash, and I over-explained everything.
Yeah.
And when I changed my website to be more concise, in the first 3 seconds, I've got your attention. You know what I'm about. Healthcare that honors mind, body, and soul. Do you want someone who's going to be an advocate for you and help you navigate any condition? Yes? Done. And that's what I had to do. So as far as like in my experience, the advertising, if you haven't got beautiful store frontage like you have, then you're relying on the internet. Instagram's done bugger all for me. Yeah. And I love Instagram like a creative thing. Yeah. But I've got a little bit, but very little from social media. I think it's very saturated. Yeah. It has been having Google Ads, amazing SEO. So I've learnt SEO, and I've learnt WordPress, all of this. And
actually clever.
My husband's in IT. But no, he gave me like the most basics, and but if you can learn how to do your SEO really well, target your local area. If you look up Kalamunda Naturopath, you see me. You look up Perth Hills Naturopath, you'll find me. Have those keywords really targeted so your website comes up when the people in the area want to find a naturopath, you're going to come up. And because so many of us will have to go onto telehealth, or they rent a room, like we don't have, I guess our work comes in so many different shapes and sizes now that, that is my advice. Have your website really concise, to the point. People don't care about who you are. They just want to know that you're qualified, what you can do for them. And then, having that SEO sorted out, Google Ads. And, I've someone that we know from uni, like it started working out really well, and I like voicemail her. I'm like, hey, do this, it works. Do it. I trust me.
Yeah, just trust me on this one.
Mm.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing to navigate, because I think both of us were like, we're not going to fail, so you try everything.
Yeah, there's no other option. Like it has to work. There's no plan B. But the way that it works may be different to I anticipated.
100%.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, you can just get like Instagram famous, but it turns out you get shadow banned when you talk about too much weird stuff. Or if you have opinions on certain global events.
Blacked out. Oh dear.
Yeah, so it's fine. It's so interesting though. It is really interesting.
Yeah.
But have a nice storefront, get your website sorted.
Yeah, if you're really, really non-tech savvy like I am, just like put some nice signage up and hope for the best. No.
I think there's some gems in there that can help people, because this is the stuff that I don't think we got talked about enough, especially in that last year. Because everything's focused on going to clinic, help this patient. Unless you got a bit of time with one of the really cool lecturers, the ones who have their own practice, you don't hear a lot about the realities of and that's why I want to do this interview. And I hope my humble 13 subscribers grows just a little bit, because if anything, I just want more naturopaths to understand how to navigate this. And it's totally possible. And like, we have totally different practices. I only want to see a couple of people a week. I'm also in a situation where I don't need to make a lot of money, because I'm in a marriage, I'm supported, I have kids and stuff. So I'm balancing my time. The way I do it is totally different to yours.
100%. And
we all have different lives and lifestyles. And some people are just working part-time and doing telehealth, and some people are starting amazing, huge clinics.
Just a little one. Maybe in 10 years will be a huge one, but just for now.
It's moderate at least, and beautiful. But yeah, it can work for everyone in all different ways, I think, is what I really want to convey. I guess, any advice for naturopaths, we call ourselves nats, who are feeling lost in terms of finding employment or putting their skills to use?
Yeah, I think that's like if you feel like you're not I'm gonna do this degree and I'm so passionate about it and I love it, but everyone in my family is telling me that there's no work. Everyone's this, like, I think recently I spoke at the Endeavour graduation, and that was,
you did.
but that was my point, to be like, no, you can. Like, you definitely can, because I'm just one teeny tiny little like speck of dust on this planet, like I'm absolutely nothing to no one. And if I can find myself enough work that has then created employment opportunities for other people, then absolutely everyone can do that.
And you've busted ass though.
Like,
make no mistake.
Like, it hasn't been easy. Like, I haven't just sat in the room and been like, oh yes, like I dreamed this and it will come.
Around me.
But I think if you can kind of sit down and have like a good internal conversation with yourself, or write it out or draw it out or something, but you're absolutely more than capable of doing it. Like, but you do have to work for it. Like, it's not going to come to you, but it's absolutely available, I think, is the and if you really truly care about what you're doing and you love what you do, I think that it will always work out. And maybe that's a really naive perspective, and maybe that's like
it's worked
fortunate
pretty well.
Like, maybe because maybe that's just me being like a silly lucky, but I don't think so. Like, because it's not easy. Like, it's not like I've just sat there and been like, I would like this to happen, and it's like clicked into place. But
because you can start with $0 in the sense that you can start with telehealth. Make a free Instagram account, do your own, marketing. You don't have to have products on the shelf. We have companies now that if you there are so many products, it's impossible to have everything.
Yeah.
So you can start up with no products and you get them
you just
drop
probably
shipped straight to your
need enough to get your registration, and like it's not you don't have to start. And to be honest, my advice would be don't do what I did. Like don't go straight from graduating to opening this clinic, and that's silly on reflection. Like I feel like that was silly. Like that's too much stress to put on yourself. That's too much pressure. Like I said to you, the first 6 to 8 months was probably absolutely the unhealthiest I've ever been in my life. Like I was not all right mentally, physically. Like I was not coping very well. What I did was quite silly. And maybe that's just out of sheer stubbornness. It's like I will get through this. And it will be okay. But you like don't do what I did. Do what you want to do and do it at your pace, but you'll absolutely, like, there is work out there for you and you have the ability to make it. And or if it's really not working, or you're really struggling with it, or you ask yourself those like difficult questions of, well, do I actually really like this? Or am I working in a way that is suitable for me? Or is my degree best suited in a different avenue? Like, do I need, because I think we
can take our degree many different ways.
You can do so many different things with this degree. And I remember even when we were studying and we're in clinic, and some of the girls, like, I realised I'm not a people person. I don't like consulting. And I don't want to be a naturopath that works face-to-face with clients. I don't want to do this. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that their degree means nothing. No. And it doesn't mean that they can't be really successful in a career with their degree. Yeah. But they're not going to be consulting. And like, that's fine.
Yeah. And that's a really important point. I think consulting, I think, is a goal for most of us. But you can become a product rep if you love being like a herb nerd, and go work for one of the herb companies, become a product rep, become a rep for one of the wholesalers. You can go into cookbook writing, you can go into education, you can do corporate education, you can do school-based programs. There are so many things.
You could literally do social media for practitioners. Like,
absolutely.
Because you would understand.
Do mentoring for students. Yeah. Like, I think we live in a time where, to get all, we live in a time where it's changing. People don't just go work for the man, sit in an office, and that's fine if that's what you do. But there is now a call and opportunity for people to work for themselves in creative, unique, different ways. Yeah. And I think we really need to be open to that, especially with our profession. It can go in so many unique, different ways, and we can reach people beyond our community.
100%. And I think that kind of sometimes when I've been doing things at work, or like you said to me before, are you where you envisioned, it's not along the lines, but are you where you envisioned yourself to be, or is it different kind of thing? And I was like, well, in a lot of ways, yes, but in also some ways, no. Like, and sometimes there's been times where I've sat down and I've thought, I'm going to do this way, and this way just really didn't work. Like, it was really uncomfortable, or just there's something about it was feeling not right for me, or and then you think, I have to work in XYZ way to get where I want to go. No, you don't. And if it just means like changing your like methods or something, that,
because if you get too rigid, you're not going to have all the opportunities.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I'm like really aware of with myself, because I can be quite a rigid person. Like, I can be quite like, no, I'm going to do it like this, and it has to be done like this. Okay. Even to the point of saying that they don't open a clinic, because it was probably only my stubbornness that like kept me going at times. Yeah. But that's
determination.
Yeah, but that's been like a massive thing for me to not be so rigid, because if you have this idea in your mind and you get so hyper fixated on it working like this and it's not working, it's so much more beneficial for you to shift. Yes. than to keep like banging your head against this wall.
So it's dynamic flexibility.
Yeah, and that's been like really helpful. Instead of getting really stuck on something and, oh, this didn't work and I'm such a disaster and I absolutely failed at this and I made so many mistakes and what am I thinking, to be like, oh, okay, this didn't work. How else can I?
What did I learn?
Great. Move along, next.
I think that's I talk to people, and I'm a real big believer that I think I did a post about it the other day, like the universe hears your inner monologue. And what you believe and tell yourself on the inside, everything that you have on the inside is reflected by the people and the events and the life that is around you. So if it's, now this is tricky, I don't want anyone to think I'm playing a blame game, but if something's not working out around you, you have to come back to what's inside you. Like, what are you telling yourself? What are your beliefs? What are the beliefs inside of you that your parents gave you? Your parents gave you, modeled for you a wonderful, hey, you can work for yourself, have a great time, it can be fruitful, abundant, successful. So you grew up knowing that. And now you've replicated that. But if you've grown up with the belief that if you don't work from 9 till 5 in this job, your life is going to fall apart because you'll be a nobody. If that's the belief you hold, and there's no judgment for holding that, because that stuff gets put in you when you're prior to 3 years old. But I think there is a huge self-development opportunity when we put ourselves into the world like this, because all of a sudden every fear or belief or feeling about lack that you have or don't have will be put in your face.
100%.
And I have found it myself. You know, I'm a very fearful person, and I've had to look at that and analyze it and feel it and work through it, essentially. And as I begin to work through it, my clinic gets better. It looks better, it feels better, the people start coming in more. And so with my self-development and growth on that physical, emotional, spiritual, psychological, intellectual, every level, my clinic, my practice, my people elevate with me. And I feel like you are one of the rare people who have, like, I don't know anyone who doesn't like you. I could name 10 people who don't like me.
But I couldn't. I don't hang around with people that
But like, honestly, and I say this, you are one of the rare people that nobody dislikes. You have a very easygoing, lovely air about you. I've never heard you say a snarky, well, maybe one or two, but never said like a snarky thing, you know, and that's reflected in the abundance and the positivity and all that we've just talked about that you've created and brought into the world. That's a reflection of what's inside you. That's okay. But I think it's really important for, you know, anyone trying to start this business, students, or even if you're established, to know that the inner work has to be done, if it's not done, to help the physical business thrive.
Well, it's really interesting because when the business first opened, for the first at least 6 months, and I was not in a good space, like mentally, emotionally, relationship dynamic-y, everything was really not good for me. And there was a massive conflict in the values I had and the values of people that I was spending time with. And it was not at all good. Work was incredibly stressful. The business, like, growth was really, really slow. It was really overwhelming. I was up at 4 a.m. to start work, in bed at 11, 7 days a week. On Sundays I'd be there. Like, I was not, and I'd grown up, like I mentioned, in this family dynamic where dad worked for himself and employed mum. My granddad had a business that employed other people, and they had beautiful friendships. They were fit and healthy. They spent time with people that they loved on the weekend. They had dinner around the table every night. And I had seen this model to me where you can work for yourself and run your own business and have incredible relationships. You can look after your physical health. You can participate in the community. You can have a great time. You can have holidays. Like, all of this can fit alongside just because you have a business doesn't mean you have to be your business. Like, it's not going to define you. But at the time I was in a dynamic where that was not the views of the other person. And so it meant that I was trying to do all of these things that were not reflected of my values. And then I was feeling really, really terrible and not good in myself. And it was just really difficult. And after that
was reflected in your business.
Yeah, then it's massively reflected in the business. And then that created more stress and then more disconnect with self and more unease and like feeling like not good enough or not capable or not even like I was in an appropriate, not that I was in an appropriate position or something that I could even handle and things like that. And it's really interesting because as that shifted and that's changed, everything just got so much better.
Yeah.
Like the last 2 months have been the busiest 2 months since the business has opened.
Wow.
I had to like set some little financial goals that I wanted to achieve by a certain point, and in the last 2 months they've been achieved. I've had the most time away from work that I've had since the business has been opened. I've had the most time with friends. I've spent the most time looking after my like physical health and fitness and like going to the gym and running and swimming and going out for dinner with people and catching up with friends and seeing my family and like booking a trip home to New Zealand. And I've done the most things aligned with me. I've had the most fun
success.
and I've had the most success. And I've spent, interestingly enough, the most time away from work. And it's really, so I think it's just exactly what you said, like perfectly, because that's just exactly how it is. I've kind of shifted to be able to structure the business a little bit more in the way that I had been exposed to a business being structured and how I'd understood that a family business can be run.
Yeah.
And the things that were really important to me, like the business is just a means to do what I love and provide for a future family. And but actually what's important right now is spending time with your loved ones and doing things that bring you joy and being healthy and well and sleeping 8 hours a night. And as soon as I started to actually live the way that I wanted to live, things got a lot better quite quickly.
Beautiful.
Which is really cool. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
I just give some advice and you're like, actually, it's quite true.
But it's like exactly what you said. And I wasn't in alignment with what's important and honest to me and how I view things initially. And it was really jarring and it was really difficult. And then when I was, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love that. So I'm just going to wrap it up. Any resources or support networks you can recommend or would recommend?
Ooh.
I've got one.
Yeah.
You can get free software.
Where?
I mean, for like your patients and stuff. If you're on a budget, I went into this thinking, I've got to pay for this software, I've got to pay for this software. There's lots of free stuff. If you're a small clinic, you're a single person, there's free software. You can use Google. Google, you're in Google Notes and stuff like that. That's my advice.
Yeah, that's even like as simple as the Endeavour Facebook page. So there's a whole like little community. Like I said, that was like a few Saturdays ago. I was, oh my goodness, I need help, and I jumped in there and flooded with will help.
Yeah.
And probably that point of just like remember that you have chosen to work in an industry of people who care about people. And that's really, really lovely because all of your colleagues and friends and everyone that you study with and other people that you work with are going to be so willing to help you. It's very rare, I think, to come across a practitioner who would not be wanting with absolutely open arms to help another practitioner. So ask other people in the industry and they'll generally be. Yeah.
That's a good one. Reach out to people, ask questions, be shameless, just get out there.
Even like there's a lot of practitioners who offer like mentoring, which is really cool. And there's like, even if you have like a tricky case, there's practitioners who you can like book an appointment with them. So you and then you pay them for a consult, but it's actually to go over a case. Yeah. And that can be really handy too if you get really stuck.
Even the Facebook group for us practice, where people just post, thoughts on this, please. Yeah. Like I find it so interesting. I don't really post on there a lot, but I read other people's things.
I was going to say.
And it's so interesting just to see how they think or how other people think. Like, I would never do that. Yeah. It's interesting you say that. And why do you say that? And that's where that continuous learning comes along, because I find once you leave uni, there's this moment where you're like,
I had this constant stream of information and sharing of information, and then it gets cut off. So I think the worst thing you can do is remain cut off.
Yeah.
It's like get back in touch with everyone, get these Facebook groups, chat
Go
to
out for
people.
dinner.
Yes, exactly, exactly. I think I might leave it there. I think I'm gonna end on that note.
Oh,
so if you want to find me, you know where to find me. If you want to find Anna, where can people find you? Like your socials, website?
Well, the Instagram has a link to our website, so that's probably easiest. So it's just Sanus Wellness Medicine, and then
SANUS.
WE Wellness Medicine.
Yeah.
And then the clinic is just in North Beach. So if you Google it, it will come up. And
lovely.
Yeah, if the door's locked, it's probably because I'm in an appointment. But if it's open, please come in and say hello.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But I'll put the links in the box below. Yeah.
Thanks, Ash.
All right. Thank you.